Let's now extend a very warm welcome to Mr. Willem Els, who's a senior training coordinator and researcher at the Institute for Security Studies, as we continue looking at the gravity as well as depth of the claims presented by General Mkhwanazi and that President Cyril Ramaphosa will now have to address when he speaks to the nation tonight at 7 p.m. Willem, it's always a pleasure. Welcome, sir. So let's get in some detail. As the ISS, what type of actual tangible information do you have at your disposal that actually speaks to some of these allegations tabled by General Mkhwanazi? And what type of research or study or even cases can you share with us? And also, how would you then flag this information to the relevant authorities and the type of feedback that you have received, sir?
Good afternoon to you, Alicia. Yes, it is indeed concerning. So at the ISS, the program that I work with is focusing on organized crime and transnational organized crime. And much of the revelations of General Mkhwanazi are actually in line with our research that we have been doing so far. We are looking in depth into the structures of your organized crime syndicates here in South Africa and how it operates, and also how it relates to the rest of Africa and the world. And what we can see is that a lot of what has been shared by the general is in line. If you look at your triangle, and that is from your kingpin down to the grassroots level of your organized crime syndicates, how they operate, who they have to compromise in terms of being successful, we see that your kingpins are normally very high, and in some cases on a political level and higher. And then also your operational police officers or law enforcement officers that need to be compromised. You must just understand that these organized crime syndicates cannot operate freely, and they cannot operate with impunity unless they compromise very high people in both the political sphere as well as in your operational arena. And we refer to that as your state-embedded actors. And those state-embedded actors, they are actually facilitating for these people, but also what they do is they protecting them, as what has been alleged now by General Mkhwanazi.
And absolutely on that point, William, then who would have such authority, and to whose interest would it be to aid and abet those criminals knowingly as the enforcers of law, as alleged in those revelations by Mkhwanazi? But I've actually been pained at how, since Mkhwanazi's bomb drop last week Sunday, Willem, suddenly there are voices from various platforms who have long had some of this information, albeit in their archives, where interviews were conducted and not necessarily made public or received the attention that they're currently receiving now. And looking now at the names of the so-called crime ring, you were just talking about kingpins. Now, you are starting to really connect the dots in relation to the names contained in Mkhwanazi's allegations of undue influence of senior police personnel. And I'm afraid if you go back to the investigations that led to Papita's assassination, I simply cannot wait for 7 p.m. tonight. How do you explain these away?
Indeed, you know, it is really tragic that we believe that what we have heard now so far that's only the tip of the iceberg. I think once the president has now announced what is the way forward, if there is then an inquiry or a retired judge that has been suggested that he appoint to do an in-depth investigation, we believe that more and more will be uncovered, and we will also start to get the big picture. You know, there are so many cases, like you mentioned the Babita Deokarant case. How long has that been now in the making, where some people have been arrested? Kingpins or the top echelons of these syndicates have not been arrested or charged, etc., etc. Even though, you know, what happens normally is your foot soldiers, your grassroots level, and maybe some of the middle operators are being arrested, and then they are being charged and they go to prison. But your kingpins always get scot-free, and that is mainly because of this type of protection.
Willem, let's visit our normal topical point whenever we have these discussions that is never excluded in our discussions, right? The issue of illegal firearms. The allegations by Mkhwanazi, they suggest that there could be two firearms, basically, literally two smoking guns, that could basically expose SA's colluding cops, a drug cartel, and those very high-profile murders or political killings. And the narrative is that this has widely been known by SABC, but undue influence has ensured that they were stalled or completely covered up. Now, my question once again, who would have that authority and whose interest would it be to assist those criminals?
Of course, those people have been, like we said, the state-embedded actors, and the higher they are, the more power they have, the better they can control, and they can also instruct for these things to be hidden. But just on the firearms, your forensic evidence when it comes to firearms, that is extremely powerful. It cannot be disputed. I mean, if you've got a watertight forensic investigation and it is being tested in the forensics lab, that evidence, if you take that to court and you start to link all these different cases, I mean, there's just no hiding from that.
Mm-hmm. Willem, SABC News, the research has actually some research stats on political killings since 2010. And one wonders, why would then a minister from the ANC actually disband a task team that is specialized to focus on those political killings? Because according to our research here, this was actually done between 2010 and the 25th of June 2025. ANC sits at the top of that block with 103 members killed, basically taking a whole stake in these killings at 60.95%. The NFP is next with 21 members that were killed at 12.43%. The IFP at 19 at 11.24%. So there was a time, Willem, of defining state capture. And it was said to do that officially, judiciary and the other arms of state would need to be completely captured, right? Are we not at that point? And if allegations are proven true, this seems like a systematic operational mandate where it's simply handed over to new enforcers with the same script. Then we're really in trouble as a country.
Indeed we are, and just the explanation of you now just make us wonder, has the state capture really been solved? Are we dealing with it, or is it still in place and operating with business as usual? The challenge that we have, especially in the police realm, is that the political and the operational division is very blurred. It started way back, but also it was very evident in the term of the previous Minister of Police, Mr. Bekele, where he constantly overstepped on the operational level, and even on some footage he interrogated some of the victims on the scene even. So that is just uncalled for, and it is completely wrong. You've got your political sphere, and that is where your strategic management of policing in South Africa and law and order needs to take place. And then you've got your operational level, where operational decisions are being made, and where the National Commissioner that's been appointed by the state president has to take charge, and has to operate without influence, without fear or favor.
All right, Willem, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much. As always, great conversation there. That is Mr. Willem Els of the Institute for Security Studies. He's a training coordinator there with his take, of course, on what is to be unpacked by the president tonight at 7 p.m.